please give another round of applause for these three beautiful ladies. It's a good crowd. Is everyone having fun? Sounds like it. Okay, Chloe Molloy, two-time All-Australian, 2018 AFLW Rising Star, now captain of the Sydney Swans AFLW team, and her coach refers to her as the best player in the league. She pretty much is the face of the league, or one of anyway. Please make Chloe welcome. The lady in the middle, Jamie Lee Price, who born in Australia, raised in New Zealand, followed her dad over there and played netball over there, Waikato Bay of Plenty, in the Trans-Tasman Championship, then came over, and she's now one of the faces of the Giants and is a world champion, of course. The Aussie Diamonds just won the World Cup last month. And this lady... Said a thing or two recently in front of a few people on Australian television. Plays in the A-League Women's for Sydney FC, an absolute superstar, one of the faces of the league there as well. And just played at the World Cup for the Matildas and gave everyone a heart attack, and maybe one of the happiest moments ever. She will go down in Australian sporting folklore for what she did in that penalty shootout. Courtney Vine, everyone. Who did not watch the Matildas at any point? Because you need to leave. You didn't. Okay, just checking. We do want to talk about, the stories of all three ladies. They've got some brilliant things to say and some stories to tell. But I have to ask all three, because all three of you, obviously, were part of or watched or were fans of the FIFA Women's World Cup. And I want to ask all three of you I'll go to you first, Chloe. Your experience as a fan, and I guess just watching the impact that it had around the country.
Well, I think probably for Jamie and I, being female athletes, watching a group of athletes who were invested in and then get up on the big stage and perform even, it just brought like a nation together, and I think sport's really powerful and it has the power to change. And what the Matildas were able to do as a sporting group, and they're probably so unaware of the impact that they do have, and I think they'll probably start to realise now, even Court's starting to realise she's been asked for 3 photos already, and I was happily the photographer, the impact that they're having, that, when you invest into a product, the product will get better, and I think off the back of what they were able to do, I think women's sport, and even from the grassroots down, is going to thrive.
Jamie Lee, what about you? You were over in South Africa for the World Cup, for your World Cup, won the thing, and then came back and got an invite from the Matildas to go to a game.
Yeah, I think we were actually really lucky. We had our camp in Melbourne before we went off to South Africa, and we got to go to the France Matildas game. What do you call it?
It's a good one.
Yeah, it was a good one. You guys won, so yeah, that was good. But yeah, I think it was just incredible. I think that was just like the start of what was about to happen. There was so many fans. It was electric, like the atmosphere. And I think for us, it was like so exciting to go into our World Cup as well and be like, yep, okay, like we know that Australia's backing the Matildas and women in sport, and I know that they'll back us as well. So yeah, it was just really exciting. And I even, when I got home, got the Matildas Instagram account, invited myself and a couple of netballers to go to the semi-finals. So that was really exciting, and even though the result wasn't what we wanted, it was still, the atmosphere was incredible. And even when Sam Kerr scored that goal, goosebump moment, yeah.
The whole country went absolutely nuts for that goal. I think everyone held their breath, and what a moment that was, that Sam Kerr goal. Courtney, I was lucky enough to be at that game as well in Brisbane. You're part of one of my most joyous and most traumatic moments in life, and I think I speak for everyone, or anyone who was watching. I'm sure everyone felt the same way. Forget the World Cup for a second. As a whole, you're sitting there, you're part of the longest World Cup game and penalty shootout in history. Everyone's having a go, just about everyone, going through every single player, and it's what are you thinking now? It's not coming to me.
Yeah.
It's not
That's exactly what I'm thinking.
So if I'm you, I reckon if it does come to me, I'm going to either throw up or run out of Suncorp Stadium, say I'm not doing it. But you, the nerves of steel that you must have had, do you remember? Is it a blur? Do you remember that moment?
It's a bit of a blur. I think it was a bit of an out-of-body experience more than anything. It's one of those things that, for the penalty shootout, we all gathered, to get told when your penalty is going to be taken. And I got told I was 10th, and I was like, go girls. Like, I am not going to be taking a penalty. So I think that mindset actually kind of helped, that it just kept creeping, and I was like, it's going to end. Like, I'm still not going to be taking one. And it wasn't until it got to the 10th penalty taker, and I think I could see Sam and like Steph's face, like, who's next? And I was like, oh, I'm next. Like, it's my go. And that's when I feel like it was a bit of out of body, and I just was oddly calm in that moment. It was a bit weird to reflect on, I think, now, but it was a calm moment for me until after, and then I was like, what did I just do? Like, that was crazy. But yeah.
Do you remember the reaction of the crowd, and do you remember the feeling on the field? Because again, it could be a blur. It could be something that maybe years from now you really get.
Yeah, I do remember the feeling. Like, obviously, once I scored the penalty and the crowd erupting and all the girls sprinting at me and me not knowing what to do and jumping, and it was just unreal. And I think I had to watch it a few times to be like, oh, that was me in that moment. But it was definitely a blur when I think about it.
And what about, as Chloe touched on, your hair's out, which is clearly you're trying to have some form of disguise, but it's not really working clearly. How has life changed for you in terms of being in the public eye?
It's been overwhelming, but also just amazing to see how many people actually got behind the Matildas. And when you're in camp, you're in a bubble, so you don't realise what's happening in the real world. You're too focused on the tournament and what you need to do to be right for the next game. And coming out, it's been weird. Like, I'm walking down the street, people are knowing who I am, people want to just thank me for what I've done for sport in Australia, and I guess just for the nation, to bring everyone together. But so many people, come up to me and just say, thank you so much. And I think that's just for their young ones as well, that now we've shown that these young girls can do this professionally and play on a world stage in front of 80,000 people and have so many people tuning in on TV. It's just been just crazy.
No doubt about it. Chloe, you're such a strong advocate, of course, for sport, for obviously women in sport. I wonder, we're obviously still talking about the World Cup because it changed things for so many reasons. It's something that we suspected. We talked a bit about in the lead-up about how this would maybe be something that transcended sport, transcend any gender reference. And now it seems that, I guess the key word is maybe normalised. It's for little girls, as you say, but also little boys as well, not just in terms of I want to go play sport. A young girl can go, I can kick a ball around and I can end up in the green and gold. I have professional pathways, but also boys, their earliest memories will be seeing this professional setup, and it's never going to be, I assume it's not going to be any of this crap about when you're older, girls can't do that, women, I don't want to pay to watch that, I'm not going to watch that on TV. Were you, during the World Cup, maybe feeling a change?
I think it just solidified the change. If anything, I think speaking from an AFLW point of view, the league was established in 2017, and you can kind of feel the change, but I didn't think that we could do it just as an AFLW community. We've seen what the Diamonds, and when your national teams, and it's hard to compare because we're an AFLW, so we're Australian. These two, play in the green and gold, and I won't get to do that, but that's kind of like playing my part in the AFLW. And we were speaking before, we've never had, like, if you had asked us back in school, who's your sporting hero, who do you want to be like when you grow up, and you'd always name a male athlete of some sort, but now we have an opportunity in what we do to be able to put down, I want to be Jamie Lee Price, and I want to be Courtney Vine, I want to be Mel, and that's pretty special. And I think, what our national teams are being able to do just solidifies probably what the AFLW has been able to do on a bigger platform, and kind of just, in a typical sporting cliche, kind of knowing your role and playing your role and just not accepting the bare minimum, and understanding that there's glass ceilings and the only ceilings that we're putting on are the ones on ourselves. And so it's changed for the better, and I think it's awesome because we're not going to go backwards now.
No, I think everyone agrees, which is absolutely amazing. And you mentioned these two ladies who, as you say, play for Australia, play in the green and gold, but AFL is the number one code in Australia, and you're, by many accounts, a face of the league, one of the top 5 or whatever. Your coach, as I said, describes you as the best player in the league. But, you know, Collingwood, if I say Collingwood, does anyone have a reaction here? You're like, no offence. But you moved to the Swans. I know, terrible, aren't they? But you moved to the Swans here, and I was listening to an interview of yours where it seems like you felt a bigger responsibility. It wasn't just for yourself; it was to promote the league as far and wide, and to maybe tap into that Sydney market.
Yeah, and for those that responded to Collingwood, I did play for Collingwood for 6 seasons, and I think I was just a little naive. Like, I remember coming into the league and always wanted to play footy as a girl growing up. And we got paid, was paid to play footy, and I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. Like, I'll take the paycheck of $10,000 for, 12 months of work. But then as I've kind of grown up and I've matured a little bit more, I've kind of wanted to step into being a role model and understanding that, not shying away from it as such, and understanding I have a bigger part to play. That the quote, you plant the seeds for the trees that you won't sit under. So it's doing the work now for the generations after me. That kind of a little bit unaware of what we've had to push through as female athletes, which is so actually the best thing ever, because I don't want them to ever know what it was like having to use local change rooms, not get strapping tape, or having microwavable meals after training at 9:30 p.m. at night. Like, that is all part of why we are where we are, and I never want them to know a world where they have to have that and accept those standards. But I was a Collingwood supporter. In a humble way, was a big part of Collingwood, and chose to move to Sydney in the mindset of I have an opportunity at the age of 24 to make an impact on a team, a young, raw team that just come into the league, but then also the opportunities. I'm sitting up here being able to speak about something I'm so passionate about, and come up for a long-term deal and try to, just kind of push my way. And you kind of, like another little quote, like, if you just keep knocking at the damn wall, it's going to fall eventually. So I'm kind of just playing my part in chipping away at it and chipping away for women's sport. And I don't need the recognition or anything, but it's my little legacy that I hopefully can leave.
Well, it means so much to so many people. How has it moved to Sydney? Do you like Sydney?
Yeah, Sydney's grouse. I've loved it more than I probably thought I would. Inflation, cost of living, that's another, someone else can do a talk on that. But I have loved Sydney. It's helped with the mindset and much clearer and also the joints warm up way quicker than they do down in Melbourne.
Tell us about the CBA, because I know it's something you're passionate about, and it happened today.
Yeah, so just recently, literally an hour ago, if you check social media, the AFL just announced that we've a historic 5-year CBA, so collective bargaining agreement with the men's, and it's the first of its kind. And I think it's awesome because instead of trying to put us against each other, now we actually have a joint CBA, and we're the Aussie Rules League, where we're not the AFL and the AFLW. Yes, two respective different products, and I want to be treated as different products because we bring in a different community, different fans, different to what the men do. But to have a joint, where we all want the same goal, which is to be the #1 sporting code in Australia, and we are that, and we want to maintain that. But I think it's amazing, and it's incredible to be a part of, and I've been pretty passionate in pushing for it, and I think it's another historic moment in women's sport on the back of what these two have been able to do.
Yeah, congratulations. That's amazing news. You play for the Swans, you played for Collingwood, you're sitting next to someone who plays netball for the Giants, who play Collingwood tomorrow in a prelim game. So you two all right over there?
Yeah, well, she's a Swans now. So.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but
I mean, we still don't like each other.
Just crosstown rivals.
Yeah, crosstown rivals.
Jamie Lee, what about you? As I said, I mentioned you were over in New Zealand when your dad, Steve Price, obviously a rugby league legend, he went over there to play for the Warriors. So you played netball there, and that's a country where netball is religion. What was that like? And how does that compare? Well, what was that like first? Because that must have been amazing.
Yeah, I think growing up in New Zealand was obviously a lot different to growing up in Australia, but we loved our time there. I think going over there, it was, to follow Dad's dreams and to continue on so he could pursue his dreams as well. But yeah, I think we weren't meant to stay there for very long. We ended up staying there for 13 years, doing, like, I've got a brother and a sister, and we did all our schooling over there. And rugby union is huge over there. So rugby league is, like, pretty tiny, but netball, yeah, is massive. And I think I wouldn't be the player that I am today if I didn't play over there. And yeah, I'm really grateful for what they did for me, and I just love the people and the culture, and just, yeah, everything about New Zealand is just really special.
Yeah, I must have been so much fun. And I first knew of you long before I met you, because Steve Price on his Instagram account used to post a lot about you. He was so proud. You're from such a sporting family as well. Your dad, your uncle, your brother's playing, or was playing for the Cowboys as well. What's that like? It's obviously male-dominated, playing at the elite level, and now you.
Yeah, it's funny, when I was growing up, I was always known as Steve Price's daughter.
Yeah.
And I think I got really annoyed. So when I was kind of trying to make a career for myself, I was always like, yes, I'm Steve Price's daughter, but I'm Jamie Lee Price, and I'm a netball player. I don't play rugby league. Like, this is me. So, yeah, I guess he's been such a massive support for me, and I guess to be able to watch, like, my uncle and my dad to play for Australia and represent the Maroons and, play NRL was something, like, I'm really grateful for, and I think it's really special to watch, firsthand what they do day in, day out, and what it takes to be a professional athlete, and all the highs and all the lows. Yeah, I think that definitely helped me a lot. But I think netball is probably a little bit different in regards to, we had I had a netball role model growing up. Netball role models growing up. So I remember in the 2008 Netball World Cup in Auckland, I was a flag bearer for Australia. And Liz Ellis, she's very scary. She had a chat to me because I was living in New Zealand, and she's like, when you grow up, you better not play for New Zealand. I was like, no, yes, definitely.
Do what Liz says,
yes.
Fair enough too.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, obviously being the ball girl, and being able to watch, like, such incredible athletes play the sport that I love, I think that was, like, a moment for me, like, pinch me moment, like, I want to do this for a job, I want to do this for a living, and I think that's the moment when I realised.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned Liz. She went to, I went to the same school as her, and she came back as a rock star at school assembly, and I got to interview her, and that just made my life. So it's, like you say, one of the few female role models, sporting role models that people think of. And netball's a funny one because in terms of grassroots, it dominated for so many years, and we've been world champions in the past. We've had the different competitions. Where do you think it sits now? You're obviously with the Giants now. You have been for a long time. Where do you think it sits in the Australian sporting landscape?
Yeah, I think it's pretty incredible to be able to, I guess, watch the young girls growing up, that they have so much choice and so much opportunity to be able to, play AFLW, play soccer, play NRLW, or play netball. I don't know if I've missed cricket, all the other sports. There's so many now. There's so much choice. And I think, like, that's just insane. I think when I was growing up, like, netball was one of those sports that you could play professionally as a female, and I was lucky enough that I played it since I was 6 years old. I played, touch rugby and Oztag when I was growing up, but I always knew that netball was something that you could do professionally, and you can do it for a living. So I don't really know where netball sits at the moment, but I still think that it's one of the most participated sports in Australia, and yeah, I think we'll continue to still strive for that, and the fact that women just have so much choice now is pretty incredible.
What was that World Cup final like? Beating England?
Yeah, it was great. I think we actually lost them in the rounds by 1 goal, and England had a lot to say about that. And to be fair, like, to them, they kind of created history in being able to beat us in a World Cup, and then to be able to make a grand final. But I think they worried about us a little bit too much instead of celebrating their own success. So when we got to the final, we met them in there. We were pretty fired up and ready to, I guess, redeem ourselves. But yeah, I think for us, it was the 16th World Cup, and we've created history again in winning the 12th World Cup. So I think that's pretty incredible, and yeah, we've just got so much talent in Australia, and yeah.
And what about legacy and being a role model? Is that something you think about?
Oh yeah, all the time. I think, when you are an athlete right now, we have such a huge responsibility in being able to inspire the next generation, and it comes down to little things like a little kid wants a photo, you give them the photo, you ask them how their day is, how their netball or sports journey is going, and that's something that they will remember for the rest of their lives. So yeah, it's just like the little things. It's going to do some coaching at associations or doing association visits, and that like inspires young females or young males to want to be professional athletes. So it's very important.
It really is. Courtney, what about you? I guess with Sam and that calf, if that hadn't happened, you could argue that because all of you are household names, you are for a very unique, special reason, but jerseys and the fan day up in Brisbane afterwards where all of you were disgustingly hungover and didn't want to speak to me, so that was cool.
I wasn't hungover.
No, you looked very fresh.
She was in bed by 9.
I was asleep.
Yeah, good girl.
Yeah.
But the fact that all of you, could you have imagined that all of, okay, your penalty is, as I said, a unique situation, but everyone knows who all of you are. It's changed everything in terms of the Matildas. It's not just Sam.
Yeah, no, I think obviously the calf was just annoying for all of us, and annoying for Sam mostly, and that was obviously really down point, but also it kind of let the other girls show what they can do as well, without obviously disrespecting Sam in any way. But you saw Kate Ford shine and Steph Catley step up, and Mackenzie Arnold save so many bloody goals. Like they all did an amazing job, and I think everyone knows their names now, and it probably is because Sam was a little bit injured during the tournament. But it's just amazing to see so many people so excited about Matildas now. I actually went to a school visit just the other day, and the little girls that were looking up, to all girls school, but little girls that looked up to me and were just so shocked and surprised to see me, and they were like, "Oh my God!" Like, it was.
That's what I did when I saw
you. Were like that. It was just so heartwarming, and I did make a speech there saying that I never had this growing up, and I never had someone to look up to and go, I just went on a national, the national stage, and everyone got to see me and got to do what I love to do and be a professional at that. And I never had that when I was growing up.
No.
I never had a role model to look up to or be like, and to then think I got to go to a breakfast with them all and do a Q&A, and them to be like, I want to be like you. Like, I can't wait to try and be a professional athlete or anything like that. Like, it's the ripple effect, and I'm so glad that I've stuck around in Australia to feel the effect that the Matildas had post that World Cup. We're very happy to still have you here. Do you think you'll still be here? This is not a media question. Like, is Europe calling or? Europe's something that I would love to go to in my career. I'm hoping that my career lasts a bit longer than a couple years. It's something that I think everyone does want to do. They want to go to England mostly and play for the big clubs because the EPL has been so visible in the men's league, and it's something I do aspire to do. But for now, I do want to try and create a bit of a legacy here in Australia with the domestic league, in the A-League with Sydney. And I just want young girls to be able to see me out there in Australia and know that I was playing, at the World Cup not that long ago, and I came through the A-League, and that's what they should aspire to do as well. And get out and watch the games and all that kind of stuff, be a member, whatever. The word trailblazer, all three of you, what does it mean? Do you feel like one, and what does it mean to you? I feel like I don't feel like one yet, but I think it means just, paving the way for young girls and boys for the sport in Australia. Like, I think Trailblazers is, creating a pathway for people to know and, I don't know, building the way. That's how I look at it. You're wise beyond your years, by the way. I'm not.
Well, I think it's probably not something that it's probably after my career, speaking on my behalf, is that I'll look back and maybe when I have kids and realise they can choose whatever sport they want to play, and I don't have to tap them on the shoulder and be like, you can't play that because girls don't play that sport. I think that's probably when it'll hit me in that I was a trailblazer. Like, I'm not unaware of it, but we have a job to do. We compete, we're competitors, so we want to get on the field and the court and first of all win a premiership. And I think the outside stuff is just something that you kind of just got to keep embracing. And it's humbling to hear you call us trailblazers. But I think it's just something that the best thing, like, Court was so naive to how big her penalty shot was that we're probably so naive to it. And I think that's the blessing in it, that we are so naive, but we're just us and we're just doing what trailblazers do without even realising we are one.
Yeah.
I feel like they've just nailed it on the head, and I'll probably repeat everything they said. But yeah, inspiring the next generation, and obviously enjoying the moment, because we don't have, we have 10 or so or whatever years, hopefully, to play professional sport. So making the most of it and being accessible as you can, however that looks, and making sure that we connect with our younger generation, and
Well, the time for talk is clearly done. Everyone wants to be able to relate to, the people on TV or the people, playing the different sports. As you say, if I see you doing what you did, I can believe that I can do that. And look at these, all three different codes and spectacular women. We're definitely not going anywhere near backwards. I'm wrapping up because you've run out of time. I don't really want to because there's so much to ask you three. But please join me at a very, very special time in life where the world has changed in this country. We look at a lot of things differently now as a result. We thank all three of you for the work that you're doing. So please join me in thanking Courtney Vine, Jamie Lee Price and Chloe Malloy.